What's going on, everybody? We are live Friday, July 19th, 14-game slate. But honestly, who cares? Who cares about DFS? Adam throws out the first pitch today, and we get to mock him if he stinks at it. It's going to be incredible. You getting nervous?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not as nervous, I guess, as I expected to be, but that'll probably change as the day goes on.
Have you thought at all about not going fastball?
I was joking with Siege last night that in high school, like my catcher would get pissed because he would want me to throw fastballs and I would just refuse. And like there were a couple times where he would just keep putting down, like we were good friends, and he would just keep putting down fastball. And eventually I would just nod and throw him a curveball or a slider. And I was joking that maybe I would do that.
You break off some sort of ephus pitch. Could be good. Yeah. It could be good. Okay, we really do have a nice 14-game slate. Tons of pitching options at the top, some interesting options at the bottom. Normal plugs. MLB Strategy is the promo code. 50% off your first month with us. Any monthly package you choose, including packages with Fantasy Cruncher. If you want to check us out, you want to get Awesome O Plus, get access to everything we have, MLB Strategy would be the promo code to do that. And then, as usual, we are brought to you by Yahoo Sports. Where's the link for Emacs article? Tom, don't be mad at me. I don't remember what we talked about yesterday. There's verbiage I'm supposed to use, and I forget what it is. Look, we've got an article written by our old pal Emac, breaking down Yahoo strategy for today. Yahoo is the presenting sponsor on this show, the Deeper Dive, the Early Bird podcast. And we do a Yahoo-specific strategy show every Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Myself, be Jake Hari, and the boss man himself, Alex Baker. So we'll be on at 1 o'clock, building lineups in Yahoo for about an hour. If you want to know more about Yahoo and signing up, there may or may not be something you can click on in the article that I just posted into chat. So check that out. Let's take a look at yesterday, which had some potential to be fun if I would have thought that the Nats were on the slate. But unfortunately, I did not. Lots of familiar names just repeated at the top of the $18 150 max on DK. Uticao finishing first, tied with himself. That surprises me. Like, a lot. The more surprising piece is that it's a duplicated lineup. I don't know if this is just a data issue, so I guess I should probably click on that to figure it out, but did he really finish first with himself? He really did. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Huh. How do you think that happens?
It probably had an upload issue, and he's Yoda Cow, so he just runs like God and gets first place with both of them.
Filter, yeah. So it looks like he ran 75 duplicated. But no, he didn't, because some of these are not duplicated. Some of the one of them hit. No, that's a different lineup. Not all of them are duplicated, but some of them are.
Probably just had like an upload issue or something. I mean, like I did it in one of the 3 max tournaments, I think on the early slate yesterday, because and it was simply because I made a change in my lineups with, like 45 seconds before lock. And when I uploaded it, like 2 of the 3 went through. And so I don't know, like I ended up with 2 of the same lineup.
Yeah. Well, did they win $75,000 when you did it?
No, I'm not Yoda Cow.
By the way, Jake hit me with that. You can find out more details in Emacs article. That's sort of the line that I was going for. Thanks for helping me out there, Jake. Yeah, nothing like binking the tournament by accident twice.
Yeah.
It's one thing to do that, like, oh my god, just 75 G's like it's nothing on an accident. What a fun sweat that must have been. Yeah, fuck this up and I'm going to win all the monies. Which is a shame because Wakey Wakey finished 3rd, 4th, 6th, 7th, 10th, 14th, 17th. Just couldn't get there. Get there. Needed to have go ahead.
No, I'll say in the $10 50K on DraftKings week, he got 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th.
It's just funny. It's just so funny. Unbelievable.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. Maybe not.
The $10 you said?
Yeah, the $10 50K. And yeah, no, never mind. I forgot that in FC Pro it just shows everyone's name once. So
he finished
he
first,
got hurt.
third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth.
Yeah.
Plus 11, 12, 12 again, 15, 16, and 16 again. Cleaned up. Won. Oh my God, that is just insanity. He won $16,758 worth of the prizes. You picked up $3,300. Everybody else was $155 or below. I've asked this question a couple times now. So 33 people max entered the $18. Any guesses as to how many were profitable?
You said 33 did?
33 did.
5?
Answer is 4. 2 of which were $1,000 and $2,000. So only 2 of them were like legitimate. And we've already gone over who that was. You had a lot of your exposure tied up to Madison Bumgarner and Trevor Bauer, the 2 highest scoring pitchers of the day. Kudos to you on that one. Where were you stack-wise?
Not where I wanted to be or thought I'd be. A lot of Tampa, a lot of
Come on.
I'm drawing a blank.
It's fine. I got it.
Oh, Minnesota. A lot of Minnesota. Way overweight on the Braves. Had some Nats. I think with the Nats, I was like underweight on the popular guys and overweight on the low-owned guys probably.
Yeah, you were just slightly over in the aggregate. Brian Dozier being the guy that you were most over that paid off for you.
Yeah, I don't. My stacks didn't really come out the way that I anticipated them coming out, but whatever, it worked out.
The problem was outside of the Nats, you just needed specific combinations. Every other, like nobody else was fantastic. The Cardinals had the second most fantasy points at 77, but you can just drop down to the Braves, who were like 9th or 10th, and they had 63. So that's not a huge gap. If you needed the right pieces, not necessarily the right combinations. Like Bregman and Springer and Alvarez would have been a great trio from Houston if you can get to it. The Tommy Edman Grand Slam was obviously very helpful for people that had the Cardinals. This was my biggest problem. 36% Kyle Gibson yesterday. Was with the field on Bumgarner, Bauer, Syndergaard. Should have been great. But I did this. Total exposure for the Washington Nats yesterday. Highest scoring stack for the public, 84%. Josh, 5.
Why was that?
Why did I have so little Nats?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I mean, if you asked me that question last night, like I could have given you a real answer, but I don't archive my sheet, so
yeah.
I couldn't even like pull it up to look at it. Who pitched against the Nats yesterday? Kyle Wright.
Kyle Wright.
Well, let me look at who else I had. So I was you knew I was really, really heavy. Actually, I have the graphic in our DM. So give me 1 second and I could look at it and let you know. So the Nats graded out, was it an 8-game slate last night?
Yes.
7, 8, 11, 12. So the Nats graded out overall as like my 13th best stack, basically. I had them ranked so much lower than where their ownership was that after my adjustments, it basically pulls them out. And they became like the most aggressive fade that I had. So
gotcha.
Gambled and lost. But I had infinite amounts of Brewers, Cardinals, Indians. I mean, I guess I could just read this off the damn screen. Brewers, Indians, Cardinals, and then I was pretty heavy on the Mets for reasons that I'm not entirely sure of. But, you know, those are the days. Trying to be unique. On the days.
I'm actually happier with... So last night, I know I was talking to you that I didn't really like how my teams turned out. For the most part, now that I like look in FC Pro and have, you know, all the exposures like lined up next to mine, I actually am pretty happy with, I think, how most of my stuff came out. The exception being like, you know, 7 times the field on Tampa Bay. But, you know, other than that, and it was mostly just the value guys on Tampa. So it makes sense, at least. Like I was getting really low owned $2,900 hitters.
Sure. In hindsight, I wish that you and I could have switched lineups.
I mean, in hindsight, I had some extra time last night, and because DraftKings ran basically a really good second tournament, $10 buy-in, 10K to first. I just did 2 entirely separate crunches.
Mm.
And since I use randomness, I got different lineups. And if I could do it over again, I would play my second crunch in the big $18 and get $5,000 there instead of $4,000 in the other one.
Also, shout out to DraftKings, since we're shouting them out, for locking that game before the Yankees lineup came out.
Yeah, that was really good on their part.
We're gonna bump it back, and everybody's like, okay, we're playing with like a fake lock time for this game, but we're gonna give you no opportunity to deal with it anyway. You should have just locked it at 7:05.
The funny thing to me is the sites do everything they can these days to make every slate as small as possible, except for when it comes to game 2 of a doubleheader. DraftKings is just like jumping through hoops to keep it on the slate, even though there's no real good way to do it.
Yeah, they just put like a question mark at the time. You figure it out, assholes.
Yeah, I was in the middle of just like swapping G-Man Choi out of all my Tampa lineups, and then suddenly it's just locked.
I was like, oh, cool, I have no Choi. And then you messaged me and you're like, oh, great, everything's just locked. I was like, are you serious? That's the worst. That's the worst. Just pull the damn game. Just don't even put it, just beginning of the day. You good? This is fun. You're choking on coffee like you're going to choke on that first pitch.
All right, yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, just yank the game, guys. We don't need to jam in a doubleheader. Look, if it's a 3-game slate or something, you want to get squarely with it, fine. We had plenty of baseball yesterday to roster. Didn't need to go guessing on Yankee starters in game 2 of a doubleheader. Baseball's so much different than basketball too in that regard. Like, everybody's still going to play in the basketball game. You could have 6 different guys in that second half of the doubleheader.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this. 14 games, tons to get to. So let's dive in. First game up on the docket. Yankees and Rockies. 6.4 run implied total for the Yanks. 4.5 for the Rockies. It's a 67% chance to win for New York. J.A. Happ going for the Yankees. Kyle Freeland going for the Rockies. No ownership going to Happ on Yahoo or FanDuel. However, $6,400 J.A. Happ on DK, picking up 21% ownership. Not a soul touching Kyle Freeland. How do you want to manage Happ here at that price tag?
Yeah, it's a really appealing price tag. I think that entire price range is pretty appealing on this slate. There's several arms that you can get to that have, reasonable upside. Happ hasn't been as good this season as in the past, but, you are getting Colorado outside of Coors Field. You have some dangerous righties in Story and Arenado, but, it's not the best lineup. The price point is really just the most interesting, part though. If he was like 8K here, I wouldn't be all that interested, but at 6,400, I have interest in Happ.
Yeah, you and me both. It's tough to avoid, but the price is just low enough that you can get away with some disasters. Like, he can give up a solo dong or 2, and it's not really going to hurt you all that much at that price tag. You get a buffer. I can't imagine not having at least what the field has. I don't think that 21% is so crazy for him today. It's certainly scary. I think the thing that I like the most in this game, honestly, like relative to their actual ownership, are Rockies Bats. They are going completely unowned outside of 8% going to Nolan Arenado. It's 3% on Story and 1s across the board. Basically unowned on FanDuel too, but you're not getting the same sort of leverage with Happ's ownership. Do you have any interest in the Rockies Bats here against Happ?
I think that at that ownership, it's pretty appealing because Arenado and Story, I mean, obviously it's a downgrade for everyone in the lineup because they're not in cores, but it's not like this is a pitcher's park. And Arenado and Story are still excellent hitters with the platoon advantage here against Happ. He will give up some home runs. So those two in particular stand out. But I mean, Charlie Blackmon hits lefties well. Happ's not lights out against lefties either. David Dahl, if he's in the lineup, hits lefties perfectly fine. Desmond's okay. Murphy's a decent hitter. It's still not a terrible lineup. And when you can get pieces like Story and Arenado to kind of carry your stack at low ownership, the rest of the pieces certainly are good enough to fill out the rest of the stack.
Iannetta, if he's in the lineup, $3,900 catcher. I mean, this is like the perfect spot for him. Righty, lefty. Can't beat it. No ownership. Hap over the past 2 seasons, 192 x ISO against right-handed hitters. Tricky spot. I'm going to have a lot of Rockies in comparison to the ownership. They're at 2% aggregate. They have the biggest gap between where I have them ranked and where they're coming in ownership. So while I'll still have some Hap, I really like the idea of being on the opposite side if they're getting no ownership whatsoever. Yankees Bats, though. 6th in ownership on FanDuel, tied for 6th on DraftKings. I mean, this is a really, really scary spot for Kyle Freeland. What do you want to do with the Yanks?
Yeah, I mean, Freeland's been really bad this year. He's to right-handed hitters, he's allowed a 383 expected WOBA, 241 expected ISO. Power with the Yankees. Even when Freeland was good prior to this year, he wasn't a big strikeout guy at all against right-handed hitters, right around like 16%. So you know that the Yankees are going to be able to put the ball in play here, and they just have so much power in this lineup that I don't have any way that I could get away from them.
Yeah, they come in as my number 3 stack right now. Freeland has not had very good luck against right-handed power. And the Yankees are made of right-handed power from top to bottom. And that says nothing for guys like Gregorius or even, Brett Gardner. It's not like he has zero pop. I can't get away from these guys, especially with the prices. They're not hard to roster. There's a lot of offense in this game that I'm going to have. This will probably be my most exposed game.
Yeah, that seems perfectly fine.
I don't have anything else here. We're clearly not rostering Freeland, are we?
No.
Okay. 4,900, I know that sometimes pops up, but this feels like the wrong spot.
Yeah.
Okay, keeping it moving. Pirates and Phillies. 5-run implied total on both sides, I think. I don't know, a couple of these games didn't have totals when I woke up. See if that's changed. Jordan Lyles going for the Pirates. Jake Arrieta going for the Phillies. 5% ownership going to Lyles on DK at 5,600, but no ownership going to either one of these guys across the board. Do you plan on rostering Lyles or Arrieta today?
Definitely not on Arrieta. Just not a good strikeout matchup for him. He's not a particularly good pitcher. He's facing a bunch of lefties. Lyles is kind of interesting, though. 5,600 on DraftKings. Certainly not interested on FanDuel with one pitcher, but or even really at 33 on Yahoo. But 5,600 on DraftKings is kind of appealing against a Philadelphia team that probably will have like 6 righties in the lineup. They aren't the best matchup. They don't strike out a ton, but it is a negative park shift for them going into Pittsburgh. Lyles for the season has a 25.8% strikeout percentage against righties, 308 expected WOBA. So pretty decent numbers there. He's certainly one of the guys in that price, in the like $5,500 to $6,500 price range on DraftKings that I would have interest in.
Curtis in chat is saying that the Yankees ISO against lefties has been bad this year. Like 110. Can that be real?
The Yankees have what?
Like a 110 ISO against lefties this year? That can't be right.
They haven't been great, but I don't think it's that bad.
Active roster against lefties, 186. So
yeah, like they have a 100 WRC plus.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what you're looking at there, Curtis, but you're looking at the wrong data. They are 17th in the league, 186. All right, that just stood out so much that I felt like I needed to point it out.
Yeah, nobody's 110. The Marlins aren't even 110.
Right.
The Marlins are 125.
Oh God, they are so bad. They're so bad on every day that they're so good on every day that I say they're so bad.
Yeah, that's how it works.
But when I do that, I can't accidentally put 2 lineups in of the Marlins and take down 50 Gs. Let's get back to this Pirates-Phillies game. Phillies right now, 5th in ownership on FanDuel, 10th on DraftKings. Are you targeting Jordan Lyles here with any Phillies bats?
Probably not. I don't think this game's all that appealing for hitters. If I were looking to hitters, it would be more so to, like Josh Bell at 4,900 from the Pirate side or Corey Dickerson or something like that. For Philadelphia, I mean, Harper's price tag is still pretty appealing. You can obviously make a case for JT Realmuto because he's a good hitting catcher, but I think that there's a lot of good hitting spots on the slate, and PNC's one of the weaker ones.
Yeah, this game doesn't feel like a game that I'm going to get a ton of. Any interest in the Pittsburgh side?
Probably just as like one-offs. Arrieta has really struggled with lefties this year, as I mentioned before. He's allowed a 402 expected WOBA, 248 expected ISO, 14.7% strikeout percentage, and it is hot on the East Coast, so that does work against him. If you stacked up the Pirates here, I think it's fine. Like they're reasonably priced. Nobody's over 5K on DraftKings. Josh Bell's price tag is down from where it normally is, and he's obviously a phenomenal hitter. You get a cheap second base option in Adam Frazier. Brian Reynolds has been pretty good. You get a cheap Corey Dickerson, cheap Colin Moran. There's certainly some value on the Pirates here, and I think it's a pretty decent spot.
Yeah, this is a spot where I don't get the sense that I'll have a lot of exposure outside of one-offs. FanDuel's picking up a little ownership. We've got Colin Moran at 16%, $2,600 third baseman. He's not even as cheap as I would have expected. I just don't see it here today. Not a great park. Yeah. Just unappealing.
Yeah, I agree. Josh Bell does stand out at that price tag, though.
He does, for sure. He always does. He's just been incredible this year.
Yep.
All right, we're on to the best game of the day. The Baltimore Orioles hosting the Boston Red Sox. 3.8 run implied total for the Orioles, 5.7 for the Sox, 68% chance to win for Boston. Adam starting for the Orioles, David Price going for the Red Sox. But no, seriously, it's John Means. Means completely unowned across the board. Price, no ownership on Yahoo, 6% on FanDuel, 13% on DraftKings. You gonna roster yourself? Showdown slate?
Yeah, I mean, not getting the Means here, just a tough spot against the Red Sox, obviously. His price tag's finally back to where it probably should be, or to the territory at least where I start to consider rostering him, but this isn't the spot where I'm doing it. On the other side, you certainly can get the Price. The Orioles have strikeouts in their lineup. He's been actually, really good this year. I'm not the biggest David Price supporter in DFS, but he's been a good pitcher this year. 28.1% strikeout percentage, only a 6.6% walk percentage, 3.63 xFIP. Basically, very similar numbers to Patrick Corbin for the entire season. You're getting Price at 9,300 compared to 10.8K for Corbin against Atlanta. So he is a reason, but not interested in Means.
Okay. Yeah, Means is a tough sell here, regardless of what you think of him. A lefty up against the Red Sox and a 5.7 run implied total is going to be tough, especially in Baltimore.
Especially now that it's 6.3.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Sam Lonberg in YouTube chat just said, "Ship my backdoor slider," which I'm pretty fond of that one for sure. And DFS Goat says, "Not sure if YouTube will allow it with copyright and whatnot, but you guys should pull up the Orioles game during live before lock so we can all watch Adam." I said this before the stream even started. I will absolutely have some sort of TV set up to see if it's happening, and if it is, I'll drag a window over or something. Maybe we could blur it for YouTube and air it on Twitch and Periscope. Whatever it is, we need to get it. We'll get we will have this somehow. I promise you that.
I know we have at least one sub going to the game. So
perfect. Whoever that is, if you're listening, just forward that video over to support@awesemo.com or just tag us on Twitter or something. That's all we need. We'll make sure.
Stratford actually negotiated exclusive rights to the video in exchange for covering my podcast tonight.
I think Stratford could help us out here. Maybe we could throw somebody a bone if they can get us a video, especially if it's good. If he grooves one, your video is not that interesting. But if he throws one and hits one of the mascot or the guy that's helping him down to the mound or something, we're gonna want that video out and about for the public. But look, all jokes aside, this isn't going to be interesting. You can actually play baseball. That's not the fun part of this. It would be so much better if you couldn't.
I mean, I think that everyone's talking about the pitch. The actual line should be on whether or not I actually hurt my arm or not.
Well, lucky for you, your career is set up so that you basically just, even if it's in a sling, you can still type and click.
Yeah.
So, just in case you need any Tommy John. I want to just go back to David Price for a second. I just can't imagine wanting to spend $9,300 with all of the talent above him.
Right. I mean, so that's where I think that the issue is. He's perfectly fine for me at 9,300, but for one, I like Brendan McKay more than him for a little bit less. And for two, you have Jacob deGrom in San Francisco. You have Shane Bieber against the Royals. You have Justin Verlander on the slate. You have Ryu against Miami. Like all these guys, yeah, they're more expensive, but they're also projected significantly higher for me.
Sounds like someone read Spotlight Pitchers this morning.
What is that? No, I'm just kidding.
But kind of not kidding.
I mean, I don't read it, but I know what it is.
Let's talk Red Sox bats here, since I assume that's the piece that we want the most. Third most ownership on FanDuel, third on DK. They are first for me overall. How do you want to manage these Red Sox bats in Baltimore?
Yeah, I have respect for Means, but still kind of have to get to the Red Sox here just because of how much upside there is. Means isn't a lights out pitcher. He's been, good. He's held righties to a 308 expected WOBA, 157 expected ISO, only a 17.5% strikeout percentage against righties. And whenever you have this much power in a lineup and they're going to be putting the ball in play in favorable hitting conditions, it's obviously appealing. Their price tags are up there, which should help keep their ownership in check. $5,700 Xander Bogaerts stands out as a spot where you can probably pay up to be contrarian. I say that, but yesterday he was still really popular, so maybe not. But I would think on a 14-game slate that $5,700 for Bogaerts is something that kind of doesn't happen all that often.
We have them at 4%, by the way. They're not really popular as a stack. 25% going to JD, 16% to Mookie. Next highest number is Sam Travis at 7%.
Yeah, and I think that the pricing is the reason for that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pitching to pay up for, and you can't really pay up for it like you want to, and still get the full stack. Plus, people are going to look at Devers in a lefty-lefty matchup and not want to pay that price tag. Means has struck out 29% of lefties this year, but he gives up power to them as well with a 172 expected ISO. Devers has been one of the best hitters in baseball over the last, for the season, but especially if you kind of just like throw out his terrible April. So I think that it's just a stack where you can go a lot of different ways. And because they are overpriced, the full stack probably won't be that popular.
I keep going. YouTube chat's on point today. Jacob Treadway wants you to use your pickoff move and throw to first instead. That would be great. He said you'd definitely get on SportsCenter. I don't disagree. That could be great. The Orioles have a mascot of value?
Of value?
Yeah, like is it a popular mascot? I can't picture it.
Yeah, the bird.
It's just called the bird? Or just is a bird?
Yeah, it's a giant Oriole.
Okay. Yeah, you got to talk to the mascot and be like, yo, man, go over to first. I'm throwing the pick off. I'm not going home. Favorite Red Sox bat? Remember I said JD 25%, Mookie 16.
I lost my connection and just caught the end. Mookie
Okay.
16.
Favorite Red Sox bat? JD 25% owned, Mookie Bet 16, if that sways your decision.
Yeah. Mookie at that ownership, I guess. JD's price tag is still broken, but they're very comparable hitters, and Mookie's lower owned.
Yeah, I would go with Mookie as well. Jacob Treadway coming with the gems. Orioles are bad. Does Adam even stick around for the game after the pitch? If you had the ability to, do you have just seats, or are you in a box?
Seats, I think.
Okay, I was gonna say, if you were in a box, do you think you would play more DFS tonight? Do you have Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Be interesting. Any Orioles bats for you here against Price?
Severino, if he's hitting cleanup at 3,400, is fine. Renato Nunez gives you a ton of power, as does Trey Mancini. So if you wanted to, they're obviously not appealing. They have a 3.9 implied run total, but you do have kind of some cheap pieces with Mancini, Nunez, and Severino, and VR.
Okay. Yeah, I don't get the sense that I'm getting anything here. They're 15th in ownership on DraftKings. I have them ranked lower than that.
Yeah,
Mancini and Nunez one-offs are fine by me.
They're cheap enough where if you wanted to run something like DeGrom plus whoever at the top, if you wanted to run two aces out there, you can do it with the Orioles.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, the park is there for you. So.
Right. The hitting conditions are there. It's just a matter of, having AAA caliber guys in the lineup.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, 166 X ISO for Price against righties over the past 2 seasons. That's enough to be mildly interesting in Baltimore. 3.8 run implied total doesn't help, though.
No.
That's it for me. Let's keep it going. Indians and Royals, 5.8 run implied total for the Indians, 3.7 for the Royals, 70% chance to win for Cleveland. Shane Bieber going for the Indians, Mike Montgomery going for the Royals. Bieber, 9% ownership on FanDuel right now, 21% on DK. No ownership going to Mike Montgomery. How are you feeling about Bieber today at 10-4?
It's tough because DeGrom is $200 more expensive.
Yep.
They do project actually similarly for me, though. Bieber, has been really good this year, as has DeGrom. Not the best strikeout matchup, but no Adalberto Mondesi certainly helps Bieber. It takes one of the good bats in Kansas City's lineup out. Bieber has been really good this year, with the exception of he gives up a lot of barrel balls. And so he has an elevated home runs per nine, 1.29, but 31.6% strikeout percentage, actually the highest on the slate. 5.1% walk percentage is the second best to Ryu, third best, Malik also. But 26.5% K minus BB percentage is the best on the slate as well, just ahead of Verlander. 305 xFIP. I mean, he's been absolutely phenomenal and has a pretty decent matchup here. So I do like Bieber.
Yeah, you and me both. We basically said the same thing. DeGrom being able to throw in San Francisco is just ultra beneficial. Bieber's fantastic. His only problem really is lefty power, and lucky for him, Kansas City has none of that. They have been absolutely putrid against righties from a power perspective. I think they were like 28th or 29th in the league in ISO against righties. Just bad.
Yeah, I mean, with Mondesi out, all that they have power-wise is Alex Gordon and then whatever's left of Lucas Duda.
Right. They have Mybris Valoria projected to catch today as a lefty.
Yeah.
Not and exactly a power bat. I don't know what you just said.
I said, and Nicky Lopez is a lefty, but he doesn't have power.
Right. So this actually fits Bieber pretty well. If the park were flip-flopped and it had the lower park factor against lefties, it would be even better. But I'll take whatever I get of Bieber today. There's no... I'm not going to be bummed about any number that comes in. There are 3 starters at the top that I want to just soak up all of the exposure for me, and he's one of them. Any Mike Montgomery?
I don't think it's necessary here. He's not a high strikeout guy. Cleveland doesn't give you a lot of strikeouts, and there's an abundance of pitching options between 5,500 and 6,500 that you can get to that I think are better strikeout guys.
He has the lowest projection of every pitcher on the slate for me, and I have him projected for 2.5 strikeouts.
Yeah, he's second lowest for me, ahead of Kyle Freeland.
I've got Freeland beating him by 3 full points, neither of which are grading out very well, so it's just different flavors of garbage. What else we got here? Any other interesting pieces? No. Indians Bats, 12th in ownership on FanDuel, 17th on DK. Pretty much everything on FanDuel is going to Jordan Luplow at 2,600. Do you anticipate stacking the Indians against Kansas City here? Big time run total.
I haven't really known what to do with the Indians. Like, they keep having these really high implied run totals, but they suck as far as, hitting goes.
As far as all the things that you need them to do.
Right. It's just not that appealing of a stack to me because it's not a team that's loaded with power. It's a team that's loaded with guys that are going to hit balls in the gap and put together big innings that way. Lindor, of course, is a good play at shortstop. Mercado's price tags come up to where outside of stacks, it's really tough to get there. Jordan Luplow, I think, is the one that stands out along with Lindor. But I would imagine that I don't get to a whole lot of Cleveland despite the run total.
Been wondering why the Yahoo ownership seemed to be wonky, and then I realized that I never finished pasting it in. So
that'll do it.
Yeah. I'm not the brightest bulb sometimes. Get that in there quick so I can keep talking about it. I was like, wow, Bieber's at 0. Stupid.
Yeah, 49 though is a pretty nice Yahoo price tag there.
It really is. He's at 36% ownership though, so
Yeah,
people aren't surprised by that price.
He's $2 less than David Price is.
Let's see what else we've got. Wow, he's a lot higher than Corbin. Yeah, 44%. Wow. All of the ownership is going from Corbin up. 44% to Verlander, 25% to Ryu, 34% to DeGrom, 36% to Bieber, and 14% to Corbin. No one is in double digits below Corbin. 8 is the highest on Molly. Yahoo's been pretty sharp about their pitcher prices. Like, there's no value that's super appealing. Like, Tyler Beatty's $28, but he should be too. It just so happens that he's playing in a good park.
Right.
I don't get the sense that I'm going to be targeting against Shane Bieber here. Do you? $2,600 Luke Duda, I guess, is viable. I don't know what to say there.
Yeah, I mean, if I was looking to Kansas City, I would look to Gordon and Duda. But I don't think that I would get a lot of either.
Yeah. Let's get out of this game.
Nicky Lopez at 2,800 is fine too, but again, not going to get a lot. It's just that he's a value guy that's cheap.
Right. Yeah, they're filler for different reasons, for price reasons, not for like talent reasons. 5.4 run implied total for the Rays, 3.5 for the White Sox, 69% chance to win for Tampa.
Nice.
Brendan McKay going for the Rays, Ronaldo Lopez going for the White Sox. No real ownership going to Lopez. McKay, 3% on Yahoo, 1% on FanDuel, 3% on DraftKings. I'll let you have it, but I think we're on the same page here. We're both going to have a lot more than 3% Brendan McKay today.
If I were playing, yeah.
Just lie.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, did you say 3%?
I said 3%. I'll have 25 to 30.
Yeah, that would have been my guess. I mean, he's facing a White Sox team who they're not as bad against lefties, but they're still not very good. They don't have Eloy Jimenez. Moncada's worse from the right side. You have AJ Reed now, who is a regular in the lineup and a lefty. Ryan Goins is up there as well. I mean, they're a really bad lineup right now. And Brendan McKay is reasonably priced. He's not, overpriced. He has. I forgot that you have to switch over to his pitching numbers on FanGraphs. I was like, he has a 0% strikeout percentage.
I was like, what does he do? He had like 3 pinch hits or some shit. I was like, oh, okay, never mind. I got it. Pitcher hitter.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he's been good so far. His strikeout percentage is like 22.5%, which I think probably goes up as time goes on. I mean, he's one of the top prospects in baseball. He was striking out 28% of hitters at AAA with a 6.5% walk percentage. He's at 22.4 in the majors so far. But again, I think that probably goes up. And this would be a good spot for that to start against a White Sox team that strikes out a ton. I have him projected as like a top 5 or 6 raw scorer on the slate.
Yeah, I'm going to have so much McKay. It's insane. I did write him up a little bit in Spotlight Pitchers. Number 2 prospect for the Rays coming into the season on FanGraphs. Former number 4 overall pick. Chicago's active roster this season. 28.7% hard hit rate against left-handed pitching. That is dead last in the league and like a couple percentage points short or like below the 29th ranked team. Even when they're hitting lefties, they're not hitting them hard. I don't understand why he's at 3%, but I pray that it stays there. It almost makes me want to not talk about it.
I'd be surprised if it does, but it's pretty nice.
I mean, it's not going to go to something that is above my number. That much I know for sure.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Even if it gets to 10, whatever, I'm in for all the Brendan McKay that I can get. I'm in for it. Any Lopez.
It's an appealing park, and I think that's worth pointing out because of all the great hitting conditions on the slate. But it's also a tough matchup for a pitcher who's not really that good. It's an appealing price tag. The problem is that there's going to be a lot of lefties in the lineup for Tampa Bay. And Lopez this season has struck out 24.5% of righties compared to 15.7% of lefties. He gives up a ton of power to both sides, 222 expected ISO to righties, 220 to lefties, but you're not getting those strikeout numbers against lefties. If Tampa Bay runs out a lineup that has Meadows, Kiermaier, Nate Lowe, G-Man Choi, Joey Wendell, it's tough for Lopez. Yeah. So, he's cheap enough that you could get to some in tournaments just because he's cheap. But with the other arms around him, I mean, you have J.A. Happ for not that much more. You have Tyler Mahle for not that much more. You have Chacin for less. You have Lyles for less. We're not really struggling to find pitchers in this price range. So Lopez grades out as one of the weaker ones for me.
We're on the same page there. Rays Bats getting a little bit of love. They're 9th in ownership on FanDuel, 8.5, or tied for 8th on DK. I have them a little bit below that. There are bats that I like, but it's just, outfield, first. They're not a real fun stack to get to, even though Ronaldo Lopez could certainly get blown up here. I just don't get the sense that I'm going to have much out of Tampa outside of, one-off spots of Meadows or Kiermaier or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing that the game's in Tampa Bay because that park does a good job of downplaying power. But there is cheap power in this lineup. And as I mentioned with Lopez, against both sides of the plate gives up a bunch of power. You have reasonable prices on power guys in Meadows, Pham, Nate Lowe, and G-Man Choi. But also down at the bottom, Mike Zunino, if he's in the lineup, $2,700 catching option on DraftKings. All he does well is hit for power. And he's the perfect guy at that price tag to just put into some tournament lineups and hope that he doesn't strike out 4 times.
Favorite bat in this entire game?
Favorite bat in the entire game?
Yeah.
Austin Meadows or Mike Zunino.
Okay.
Is Meadows still free on Yahoo?
He is $11.
Yeah, so I would say Meadows on Yahoo and Zunino on DraftKings.
Yeah, Meadows 34% expected ownership. Spoiler alert for the 1 p.m. Yahoo strategy show, but Austin Meadows is going to be in our cash lineup. I hope that doesn't ruin it for you. You should still tune in. We'll fill the rest of it out too.
On FanDuel, it's probably G-Man Choi at 2,800.
Okay. Every day that I see Jose Abreu against the lefty, it's like, oh man, I really want to try to get to a little bit more Jose Abreu. He's completely underowned. He's 3,900. That's a perfect price tag. And then it's just like, oh yeah, there's 75 other first basemen today that are also underpriced, and he just ends up being unowned.
Yep.
Weird, man. It's weird. All right, let's keep going here. Oh, I don't know if I timestamped the Rays game. Oh, I did. Good for me. Reds, your boy, coming up. Well, one of your Reds boys. 5-run implied total for the Reds, 5 for the Cardinals. Coin flip game. Tyler Mahle going for Cincinnati. Adam Wainwright going for the Cards. No ownership going to Wainwright, but we do have some coming in from Mahle. 8% on Yahoo, 7 on FanDuel, and 22 on DK, where he's 6K. Talk to me about Tyler Mahle today, because I think he's pretty interesting.
Yeah, my boy. The park sucks. Other than that, though, not a bad matchup here. Basically, all the same things that we said last night about Tanner Roark apply to Mahle as well. Not the right-handed heavy version of the Cardinals lineup that it was in the past because of Molina and Ozuna both being on the injured list. But when you replace those two with Matt Wieters and Tyler O'Neill or Harrison Bader or whoever, you're getting a more beneficial spot for opposing pitchers in terms of strikeouts and lack of production. So, you look at the righties here. De Jong's good. Goldschmidt was good at one point in his career, may or may not be good ever again. Tyler O'Neill is a promising prospect, but he also has a 35+% strikeout percentage. Tommy Edman, left-handed, nothing special. Fowler's not particularly good. Neither is Wong. Neither is Wieters. And then Bader strikes out a bunch as well. So Mahle's a pitcher that has pretty drastic splits, and is a lot better against righties. 29 point right-handed hitters this year compared to 19.1% against lefties. 280 expected WOBA to righties, 360 to lefties. If he were more expensive, then the ballpark and the presence of 4 left-handed bats would start to kind of deter me a little bit. But when you're talking about $6,000, he can give up a couple of home runs, and as long as it's not a grand slam or something like happened last night with Edman, he's going to be fine. Yep. So I would expect I get to a lot of Mahle. He's my favorite pitcher out of that entire price range. He's been legitimately good, overall this year as well. So 24.3% strikeout percentage, 6% walk percentage, 3.82 xFIP. His PCRA is at 3.67. It's just a really good price tag and a nice spot.
Same page here. Wrote up a little bit about him in the article. Cardinals active roster, second lowest ISO against right-handed pitching this season. They got nothing. I know what that smirk was for. Any Wainwright for you?
He's been really good against righties. There's probably going to only be 3 lefties in this lineup for Cincinnati, so that's appealing for him. But the thing that works against him is, for one, obviously the park isn't great, but also he's priced up. He's almost the same price tag as Brendan McKay, who I would rather roster in that park against the Red Sox. The Reds have a 5 implied run total, whereas the White Sox are at 3.3. So I think just kind of a casualty of the slate there, because I'd rather roster Tyler Mahle on the cheaper end, and I'd rather roster McKay in the same price range. So it starts to become tough to get to Wainwright.
100%. Reds right now, second most ownership on FanDuel and on DraftKings. I have them as my 16th ranked stack. Who's more? Am I right? Is the public right? Or is the truth somewhere in the middle?
I would side with you. The reason I think that they get ownership is because they're really cheap and they're in Cincinnati. So obviously that gives you upside, and it gives you the opportunity to roster a team in really good hitting conditions that, with really good pitching. Kind of the same thing that we said about the Orioles. But the problem is that Wainwright this year has struck out 25% of righties. He's held them to a 297 expected WOBA. He hasn't given up power to them. Against lefties, he hasn't been as good. But outside of Winker, Votto, and probably one of Dietrich or Jeanette, you're not going to have lefties in the lineup. So, Suarez has power, so does Puig. I get why people get there, but I just don't think it's a really high probability spot. And I don't think that the Reds are extremely more likely to have a big game than the Orioles are at much lower ownership.
Emac, I don't know if you're listening or not right now. Do you think you can get Mrs. Mac to make a shirt that says "I stand with Josh" for Adam? Maybe you could wear that to throw that pitch out tonight. I know you guys are relatively close, same sort of general area of the country. If we can get that couriered over for tonight, that'd be great. I'll take what I can get. Yeah, I don't get the sense. I assume that I'm going to be fading the Reds pretty heavily. It's not like I'm picking up any additional leverage from Wainwright. They don't grade out all that well for me. I mean, I like some of their pieces, but I don't get the sense that I'll have full stacks here. Cardinals right now, first in ownership on FanDuel, 12th on DraftKings. Their pricing on FanDuel is just kind of broken. And they are the crazy chalk on Yahoo. Edmund, DeYoung, Goldschmidt, O'Neill, 34, 32, 27, 32. That is the ownership percentages for those guys. So probably going to see some Cardinals in the cash lineup as well. Do you have any interest in Cardinals bats, particularly on DK, if Mahle stays north of 20% ownership?
The lefties, I mean, Edmund leading off is fine. Colton Wong, Fowler, Wieters. The problem, obviously, is those guys are all just not very good. Paul DeYoung at 4K. I know Mahle's really good against righties, but that's too cheap of a price tag for a guy that has the power that DeYoung does at shortstop. But overall, I'm not really that interested in the Cardinals. I just think Mahle's a really good pitcher.
Okay. I mentioned before the show started that I got a lot of Cardinals in my crunch, and a lot of that has to do with just the way that I rank my lineups and leverage, and that was the piece that was pulling up the most. I'm going to be over the field on the Cardinals. I know that now, but I'm also going to have a lot of Mahle, so it feels like I'm going to be on both sides.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. I mean, it's the same thing we talked about with Roark last night, that it was a good spot for Roark, but you're still talking about a fairly priced team in Cincinnati.
Right. Do you have a favorite bat in this game?
I mean, point per dollar, it's got to be Votto, I think. At 3,400 on DraftKings.
Me, Paul DeYoung, 4K shortstop. But I don't exactly have a huge problem going to $3,400 Joey Votto.
On Yahoo, $7 Derek Dietrich if he's in the lineup.
I'll take $8 Paul DeYoung on Yahoo. Dietrich at $7 is also close, but the top of the Cardinals lineup is just stupid cheap.
Yeah. FanDuel, I'll go with $2,900 Joey Votto.
Cantor 33. Josh is going to have a lot of Mahle. Be careful, bro. If only, man. If only. It would make sweating DFS probably way more enjoyable. I would guess. Oh, God, can you imagine? No, never mind. We don't need to go into this.
It took me a good minute to get the joke.
I figured as much. You didn't smirk or smile. Like, I saw the gears turning. And I was just like, we don't need to go any further. Tigers and Blue Jays, 4.2 run implied total for the Tigers, 5.3 for the Jays, 60% chance to win for Toronto. Jordan Zimmermann going for the Tigers. Marcus Stroman going for the Blue Jays. Neither guy getting any ownership, and I don't get the sense that I'll be going to either one. Stroman's 6,800 on FanDuel and 9K on DraftKings. You want either pitcher?
It's obviously a really good spot for Stroman, and it's a really nice price tag for Zimmerman, but I don't think either one's all that necessary on this slate because you have Brendan Mckay, who is a better strikeout pitcher than Stroman at the same price point in a very good matchup. You have enough cheap pitching where I don't think you need to go all the way down to Jordan Zimmerman. So, those would be the two arguments, price tag for Zimmerman and matchup for Stroman, that you would make if you were looking to roster them. But I just don't think they're going to end up being necessary here.
Yeah, I agree. That's just, what's the point? What are you trying to get? I mean, 9K Stroman is just impossible for me on a 14-gamer.
Yeah, I mean, I understand how bad the Tigers are, but Stroman has the 24th highest strikeout percentage on this slate. Or I guess the Cubs play early, or do they?
They do.
Okay, yeah. So taking off Lester, he's not in the top 20 in strikeout percentage on this slate.
He rarely is in the top 20, even when there's less than that many teams.
Yeah.
Just not a strikeout guy. Bats, no ownership really going to the Tigers. A couple percentage points here or there. Blue Jays, 4th on FanDuel, 1st on DK. Now on FanDuel, that's being propped up a bit by 28% Vlad Guerrero. But on DK, 4 guys in double figures. Gurriel close to that. No one lower than 6%. Do you see the Blue Jays as the top stack of the day on DraftKings?
The top stack, no, but one of the better ones, sure. Zimmerman's not very good. Toronto's very favorably priced. The park is quietly a good hitter's park, and the weather's appealing. The Blue Jays have obviously their own issues at the plate, but Zimmerman, since the start of last season, has allowed a 209 expected ISO to righties, 214 to lefties, between an 18 and 19% strikeout percentage against both sides. So you're giving up power, not getting strikeouts, and facing guys like Biggio, Guerrero, Smoke, Gurriel, Grichuk, Jansen, Hernandez. Everyone except for Sogard and Galvis in this lineup has power.
I have them as my 10th stack, which I'm a little surprised by, considering I usually get crazy amounts of Blue Jays every single night. So today will probably be the day where I fade them, and it's the day that they finally put it all together. Can't wait.
Yeah.
It's usually how it works. Not to say that I don't like them. I mean, they all grade out really well on a dollar-for-dollar basis. We'll see where they end up when I crunch. Clearly, Jordan Zimmermann is not a guy that I'm super afraid of. Best bat in the game.
Guerrero.
Yeah.
Or Smoke.
I have it as Smoke by a hair, but first base versus third base and all that. Anybody else I need to point out here? Blue Jays are properly priced on Yahoo. No ownership going to those guys outside of Vlad. And he's $16. So he's the
That's an interesting.
Go ahead.
That makes it an interesting tournament spot then, though, because they have appeal outside of their price tag. So when you're getting them really expensive on Yahoo, with no one going there, I think they still are in a really high upside spot.
Yeah, so I agree. That would be a good spot for me. I still have them. They can sniff like 7th, 8th, 9th, somewhere in my ranks, and they are not anywhere near that on Yahoo. So the ability for me to get to them would be more on Yahoo than it would be anywhere else. Alrighty, 7:10 games are done now. Final 7 o'clock game, Braves and Nats. Braves, 5-run implied total. Nats, 5-run implied total. Coin flip game. Julio Teheran going tonight. Do we know why he was scratched last night?
I don't know. The Braves manager didn't want to watch a terrible guy pitch.
You just want to put it off for the day?
Yeah.
Pat Corbin going for the Nats. Teheran, 8% ownership on DK right now at 6,400. Corbin, 14% on Yahoo. None on FanDuel, where I believe he's most expensive. Yes, he is. And 10-8 on DK, just 2% ownership. Does that are you interested in Corbin at that ownership?
No, not really. There are just so many good pitchers that I have ahead of Corbin.
Same.
And for the most part with pitching, especially in a situation like this where there are a lot of different arms. The difference, it's just tough for them to be a big difference maker, pivoting to the lower owned guy. It's not like it's a slate where you have just Jacob deGrom and Pat Corbin at the same price tag, and you just need Corbin to beat deGrom. You need Corbin to beat everyone. And it's a tough matchup. He is good, but I don't think he's as good as several of the other pitchers. So I'm fine just not really going there in this spot.
Yeah, if I got any, I'm not super upset about it, but I have him multiple points behind that Ryu, deGrom, Bieber trio and miles away from Justin Verlander. So he's just going to get pinched out, I'm sure. And it's not like the Braves are a fantastic matchup for him either. Any Tehran?
Probably not. Just don't really need. I would just rather roster Tyler Mahle.
Yep, agreed.
Tehran. I mean, across the 150 lineups, I would say Mahle's number one for me. Then Happ. Then I guess either Tehran or Beatty in that price range.
Yeah, I just Happ,
or
Beatty, Mahle. I mean, there's a decent chance that I would probably get Ronaldo Lopez over Tehran.
It's just not a great spot. He's not a good pitcher. Even against righties, he only has about 21% strikeout percentage. He's still giving up power. I would just rather be getting to the Nats here, who are unbelievably cheap.
4th in ownership on DraftKings, 10th on FanDuel. I have them 8th overall, so I'm certainly going to have some exposure to Washington. Highest owned guy on the Nats right now, 12% owned Yan Gomes, so that one doesn't really count. He's a $2,500 catcher. We know why he's owned. 10% going to Soto. Of all the real people on the team, Soto's the one pulling it up. I have no problem getting to a Nats stack of basically any guy in this lineup.
Yeah, I agree. Once again, look to Victor Robles as a low-owned guy that is really good, steals bases, hits for power.
He's at 1% right now, BT Dubs.
Yeah, whenever I stack the Nats, I get a lot of Robles. You mentioned Gomes, and obviously he's a good catcher option at 2,500. But if you are playing, just playing like a single entry or 3 max or something, and you need a cheap catcher one-off, I think Mike Zunino is the perfect pivot there.
Love Mike Zunino as a pivot. Just all power. Exactly what you're looking for in DFS. Trey Turner, 4,700, sub 10% ownership. I'm in for that. Eaton. I just like this whole Nats team today.
Tehran's still struggling to hold runners too, so that's good for the Nats in general. But obviously Trey Turner, Eaton can run a little bit. Victor Robles will steal bases. Yeah. Dozier can steal some bases. Tehran's allowed 10 stolen bases so far this year. It just gives more upside to the Nats.
Agreed. Braves around 20th in ownership. Nobody getting anything outside of really Acuna. Do you have any interest in Atlanta against Corbin?
I didn't realize how much interest that I had in them yesterday, but I don't think I have interest today. I mean, it's a really talented lineup, but there's 28 offense. I think that ownership will be spread out enough that I don't need to be getting to a lot of Atlanta against one of the better pitchers.
Yeah, we're on the same page there. Just doesn't seem necessary today. Off to the 8 o'clock games, which means it's time to say, please hit the like button. It's super helpful for us. Just click that thumbs up if you're enjoying what we're doing. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you can get alerts when we go live. Coming up later today at 1 p.m., as I mentioned, Yahoo Strategy Show. Myself, Jake Hari, and the boss man, Alex Awesemo Baker, will be doing an hour on just Yahoo. Then 4:45 Eastern Time today, Laffy and not Ship My Money, since he'll be prepping to throw out the first pitch. It'll be Laffy and Chris Randone, deeper dive combo. Believe the debut combo for those two. And then myself and Jake Hari live before lock from 6 to 7. What we got going on today, guys. So hit that like button, subscribe, and check out all the rest of the content for today. Did I do a timestamp here? Detroit. So no. Perfect. Astros and Rangers. 5.1 run implied total for the Stros, 3.4 for the Rangers, 67% chance to win for Houston. Justin Verlander going for the Astros, Mike Minor going for the Rangers. Verlander 44% owned on Yahoo, 33 on FanDuel, 36 on DK. I don't even think it's close. He is clearly, to me, the number one pitcher. I might not even rank anybody second. It's that big of a gap. How do you feel about Verlander?
Yeah, I'm there with you. He has a good matchup against Texas. He's a really good pitcher, second highest strikeout percentage on the slate behind Bieber, 31.5%, 5.5% walk percentage, 3.7 xFIP. The only thing that stands out about Verlander is the home run issue that he's had. Obviously it wouldn't be surprising to see Gallo or someone get to him for a home run or two, but he's my top projected pitcher, and I don't really have any reason why he wouldn't be.
Yeah. X-ISO against lefties, 120 over the past 2 seasons. 180 for just a regular ISO, which is kind of insane. 168 X-ISO against right-handed power. It's a big-time gap against lefties. I wonder what's really causing the difference between, ISO and X-ISO in that one. I can't imagine not having him. I have him projected for 9.9 strikeouts. Next closest guy is DeGrom at 7.8. It's just different levels today. I can't imagine not getting a ton of Verlander. I will certainly be with the field. Wouldn't mind any number that came in for me. That's all I can say. It's just incredible. Which means that I'm sure I'll get blown up. Any Mike Minor. He's unowned.
No, just a really tough matchup. Plenty of good pitching options to go to on the slate. Not getting there.
I agree. Astros 5th in ownership on DraftKings, tied for 16th on FanDuel. That ownership is going to Altuve at 4K, Bregman at 4,300. What are we doing here with the Astros prices?
Those are really, really, really appealing price tags. Obviously, Minor is a good pitcher. It's a park upgrade for Minor going into Houston. But just from an upside standpoint, you get Alex Bregman at really, really cheap. Springer's price tag's fine. Altuve's underpriced. But then at the bottom of the lineup, too, you get Tyler White and whoever is catching, whether it's Stassi or Robinson Chirinos, at really cheap price tags, too. So not a top stack for me, but certainly appealing. I think especially as one-offs, because you stack a team that you like a little bit more so that you're not stacking against Minor, and then you can get just the immense upside of someone like Altuve or Bregman, a reasonable price tag, and add that to your stack of whoever.
Is $4,300 Bregman on DraftKings the best DraftKings play today?
I don't know about the best, but it's definitely one of them.
Righty, lefty, could be a shortstop or dual eligibility, a price definitely tag that is
up there.
Perfect. He is too good to be 4,300. If you made Altuve 5K, Bregman 5,300, this team would look a lot more interesting as the correct pricing. I'm gonna have some Stros here. I think they should be owned more than they are. And then on FanDuel, they're unowned, but that's because Bregman is the same price on FanDuel as he is on DK, as is Jose Altuve. They are 4K on Altuve is 4K on both sites. Bregman is 4,300 on both sites. Kudos to one of you, I guess. Any Rangers bats against Verlander?
With it being a 14-game slate, I don't really think it's that necessary. Gallo in tournaments, I think, is where I would most want to go. Mazzara at 3,600 makes some sense too, but it's not at the top of my list of things to be doing.
Now, if Hunter Pence wasn't so expensive, that would be a spot that I would look to, but he's 4,900, and I'm not jamming him in against Verlander, even though I'm sure I'll see Pence solo in an alert on my phone. That's all I've got here. Just keep an eye on those Astros prices. It's just kind of silly. If Bregman's ownership goes down from that 15% number, I'm even more interested, clearly. Alrighty. Keeping it going. Twins and A's. 5.5 run implied total for the Twins, 5 for the A's. 55% chance to win for Minnesota. Jake Odorizzi going for the Twins. Chris Bassett going for Oakland. No ownership going to either pitcher. Do you have any interest in Odorizzi?
Not really. It's not a great matchup. The price tag's okay, but Oakland doesn't strike out a lot. Their active roster against right-handed pitching this season has only struck out about 21% of the time. So obviously not really appealing there. It's a park upgrade for Oakland. And then on top of that, Odorizzi throughout his career has struggled with right-handed power. And this year, there's a lot of signs that he is getting lucky against righties. His home run per fly ball percentage has been down. He's allowed a 137 ISO to righties compared to a 193 expected ISO. And then with this Oakland lineup, you're going to get Mark Canha, Laureano, Davis, possibly Chapman. There's a lot of right-handed power in this lineup that can do some damage against Odorizzi. It's just not a slate where it feels like I need to get there.
Yeah, same page here. He's just, with the way that other people, like McKay's $300 more expensive. Full stop, I'd rather have Mckay, particularly when he's also not owned. So I won't need to get to Odorizzi. Don't get the sense that you're going to Bassett either.
No.
Twins, well, actually start A's. 8th in ownership on FanDuel, tied for 6th on DraftKings. I have them as the 5th ranked stack. Would you rather roster Oakland Bats against Odorizzi?
Yeah, I don't know about it as a stack because I think Odorizzi is pretty decent, but I do like them as one-offs. Chris Davis is hitting awful right now, but he remains really inexpensive. Chapman, if he's in the lineup, has some power. They're not optimal plays, but with the exception maybe of Davis at 3,400, but they do have a lot of power, and Odorizzi should be giving up some more home runs than he is.
What do we do with Chris Davis? Is he just like desperately trying to be the other Chris Davis?
I'm just going to keep rostering him.
So am I. He needs to really pick it up, though. He needs to go on a heater. He's hitting 232 this season. That streak of 247s is in jeopardy unless he goes nuclear to finish the year out. I'm gonna stack up some Oakland here. Semien 4,400. I really like in the leadoff spot. No problems grabbing Chapman, Olsen. I like the top of this order all the way down to Chris Davis, I guess.
Agreed.
Twins bats? Anything against Bassett? I think Kepler and Cruz look fine. Don't get the sense that I'll have a lot of them. They're my 10th ranked stack. It's pretty much where they're coming in ownership across both sites. Anything standing out to you from Minnesota?
Bassett has allowed basically no power to righties so far, but 180 expected ISO to lefties. He's been pretty decent, but this Twins offense just has so much power that I think a lot will come down to ownership. If they're kind of going overlooked on this slate, they are affordably priced, and they have a ton of upside. Assuming Rosario is back in the lineup, that would help as well.
Yeah, I have Rosario here in the 4 hole right now. 4% ownership on DK, 4 on FanDuel. Highest owned guy in this Twins side, ignoring Yahoo, 11% to Polanco on DraftKings. Yeah, they're fine. It's just kind of like a unappealing-ish game. I don't expect to see a lot of Minnesota or Oakland when all is said and done.
I think I would get more Minnesota than Oakland.
Okay. I'm pretty sure I'll get more Oakland than Minnesota, but neither one of them are going to be any sort of volume. Diamondbacks and Brewers. D-backs 4.5 run implied total. Brewers 5.1. 55% chance to win for Milwaukee. Thanks for doing nothing yesterday, by the way, Brewers. Taylor Clark going for Arizona. Julie Chassin going for Milwaukee. No ownership going to Clark. We have Chassin at 7% ownership, and I got a bundle of it on my dummy crunch earlier today. Do you have any interest in Chassin against the D-backs here?
Yeah, just because of the price. It's a reasonable 4.5 implied run total for Arizona. Looks like it's actually gone up a little bit, but still, 4.5, 4.7. The roof is, I think, supposed to be closed in Arizona today, and he's 5,500. I don't like him. I would much rather get to Tyler Mahle, but if I get to a little bit of Chassin as a point per dollar guy, I think that's fine.
Yeah, I'm just a little nervous looking at his splits over the past 2 years. 14% K rate against lefties in 2018 and 19 combined, a 168 X ISO. He's not missing those bats, and right now in the lineup, it's looking like he's going to see 5 lefties. That's kind of scary. Now, Avila strikes out a lot. Jake Lamb strikes out a lot. I don't know. He's going to need to win those battles to really pick it up. I'm going to end up having him, and I know that I'm going to be north of that number of the field, but boy, oh boy, does that scare me. If he's not going to strike them out, I see a ball landing in the cheap seats, that's for sure.
Yeah, I would mostly just get to Mahle.
Okay. I had a bundle of both of them, and that was kind of problematic. So we'll see how that construction changes. Maybe I'll take a couple of these lefties out of there, and I can feel a little bit better. 7th in ownership on FanDuel, 11th on DraftKings, my number 4 team. Surprise, surprise, I like the Milwaukee Brewers today. Haven't said that ever. What do you think of the Brew Crew tonight against Taylor Clark?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. Taylor Clark is not very good. Doesn't miss a lot of bats. Gives up power to lefties. 403 expected WOBA, 269 expected ISO, 13.4% strikeout percentage against lefties. Going to have to deal with guys like Moustakas, Yelich, Grandal, Thames. And then, the righties here obviously have power too, and it's not like Clark's elite against them. The only downside is that the roof is closed, so it's not, you don't get to hit in the 100-degree weather, but I like Milwaukee.
Yeah, as per usual, I expect them to be one of my most owned teams. There's just too much power potential in the lineup, and Taylor Clark stinks against everybody. Righties, lefties, people that stand straight in the center of the plate. It's not going to really matter. I will have some Milwaukee. Minnesota, Oakland. All right, good. Favorite bat in this game?
Grandal because of the position.
I don't disagree. Not that Yelich isn't clearly the best hitter here. Moustakas is close because of the dual eligibility. Getting second and third for 4,800 is not too shabby, but I will have a lot of both of the guys that we just mentioned. Fine by me. Anything else in this game?
Nope. Just, if Arizona were cheaper, I'd have some interest against Chacin, but they're really expensive.
They are fully unowned right now. 2% Kettle Marte on DK is the highest number we've got. They are in the 20s in total ownership. So if you want to get to Arizona, that will not be difficult. Dodgers hosting the Marlins. 4.7 run implied total for the Dodgers. 2.8 for the Marlins. 72% chance to win for the Dodgers. This is Ryu versus Zack Galan. Ryu, 25% ownership on Yahoo, 15 on FanDuel, 18 on DraftKings. How do you feel about Ryu here? Projected to face 8 righties in the Marlins lineup.
It's going to be really tough, I think, to get to him in tournaments because of the price. He's obviously really good. He's in a good matchup. The Marlins have the lowest implied run total on the slate at 2.8. But the problem for me is just that you're talking about paying almost the same price tag for Justin Verlander for a guy that has struck out 23.5% of hitters this year. He's got a 3.09 xFIP. That's obviously really good. Not quite as good as Bieber, but it's second best on the slate. He doesn't walk guys, which is important in preventing runs, obviously, but it's just really, really tough for me to roster him over Verlander at that price point or to pay more money for him than DeGrom in San Francisco or Bieber. I think that he's fine. It's just I hate rostering guys that are expensive where I need them to get deep into a game and be efficient because they're unlikely to get a lot of strikeouts.
Are you surprised by 18% ownership? That's 3% behind Bieber, 6% behind DeGrom.
Not really. They have the lowest implied run total on the slate, and they're the Marlins. Like, people are obviously going to go there.
Yeah.
And
one of those spots where you wouldn't be mad about any number of Ryu lineups you got, right?
Yeah, 18% seems reasonable. Like, if I came in around there, that's fine. I just wouldn't expect to be getting 30 or anything like that.
Yeah. How much do you think it would?
If I were to, if my lineups were to end up skewing towards one ace, I just fully expect it would be Verlander.
Agreed. Do you think it would change a lot if this game were in Miami?
No, because Ryu's still Ryu.
Okay.
The reasons that I am somewhat hesitant to pay a top price tag for Ryu would be the same.
Okay. Dodger. We're not rostering Zack Galan, correct?
I don't really see the point on this slate when you have cheaper guys that aren't facing the Dodgers.
14th in ownership right now on FanDuel, 16 on DK. Not a lot of love going to the Dodgers outside of the perpetually underpriced Jock Peterson. How do you feel about a Dodger stack here against Galan?
I'm never opposed to the Dodgers just because of how good they are, but Galan's pretty decent. There's some favorable hitter sparks on the slate with better weather. 72 degrees in LA, whereas it's 90 and humid everywhere on the East Coast. So not jumping out for me, but hopefully a team that they're a team where I would like to be getting a few Dodger stacks basically every slate just because of how good they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have a close eye on the lefty power here. Not going to be a spot that I get a ton of volume, but it's hard to ignore them. They're like the West Coast Milwaukee Brewers. There's just so much lefty power in this lineup. I mean, there's just so much power in general. So I'm happy that they're not that popular. Bellinger at 3% is fun. Happy to pay up for that. Max Muncy, my new boy, 5% ownership. I'll take it. Yeah, I'm going to have some Dodgers, but nothing too crazy. And then there's not a single Marlins bat that I want. They are bad. God, they are bad. 2 to go. Mariners and Angels. Well, I don't know if this total is right. It took me this long to want to know that if I should update it. I had 9.5. It is 10. We'll make the change, and it'll take a second. Anything interesting here for you in the Jaime Barria Mike Leake matchup?
No.
Shocked. I was hoping the answer was yes, so that you would be able to fill the time of my sheet updating, but I'm just filling it by mentioning that it's updating. So, tricks of the trade. Just changing that number makes everything go so much slower. It's awful. 4.7 run implied total for the Mariners, 5.3 for the Angels, 57% chance to win for LA. Like I mentioned, Leake versus Jaime Barria. No ownership going to either guy. No ownership coming to either guy from me. And it doesn't appear that Adam likes them either. So we're done on pitching.
Yep.
15th in ownership on FanDuel, 13th on DraftKings. My number 6 stack today, the Angels. Any interest against Mike Leake here?
Yeah, for sure. He gives up a ton of home runs, doesn't strike guys out, basically at the end of his career, and he's just gotten really, really bad. For the season, he's allowed 1.87 home runs per 9, has the second lowest, or one of the lowest strikeout percentages on the slate at 17.3%. Trout, obviously, is a great play. You have Shohei Ohtani for 4,700 on DraftKings with monstrous power. That's really, really appealing price tag there. That's one of my favorite outfield plays. On Yahoo, he's $20, which is really appealing. Justin Upton and Calhoun both have reasonable price tags. I like the Angels a lot.
I'm going to have a ton of Angels because of this ownership. Highest owned guy on FanDuel or DK, 9%. Trout on DK, 9%. Ohtani on FanDuel. If this lineup comes out even comparable to this, I'm going to have a lot of these guys. Leake stinks.
Yes, he does.
Really, really bad. Doesn't miss bats. Gets blasted by both hands. Whew, this could get really ugly really fast. Is there a bat you prefer here? You kind of get to choose your outfield tier. Trout at 5,800, Ohtani at 4,700, Upton at 3,900.
Ohtani's my favorite.
Okay. Yeah, I don't disagree there. Any Mariners bats for you against Barria?
Not really. No.
Okay. Domingo Santana one-off works for me. Barria has had a big-time problems against righty power, but now they're just filled with a bunch of like lefty guys I don't care about, and that's less appealing here. So just give me the Angels, and I hope their ownership doesn't go anywhere. Please, Mike Trout, play tonight. Don't sit out again. I know you played yesterday, but keep it going. I don't think I time-stamped this one. Oh, I did. I'm the best. Final game, Giants and Mets. Giants 3.1 run implied total. Mets 4.4. 64% chance to win for the Giants. Nope, for the Mets. Tyler Beede going for the Giants. Jake DeGrom going for the Mets. Beede, 6% ownership on Yahoo, 2% on FanDuel, 10% on DraftKings. We'll start there. Any interest in paying down for Beede here in San Francisco?
Mildly, just because of the park, but not a great pitcher. Obviously, he has decent stuff. He has some potential, but major walk issues, and has really had issues with lefties in particular. 365 expected WOBA, 15.7% strikeout percentage, 184 expected ISO. And you're going to get some pretty dangerous lefties here with McNeil, Conforto, Dominic Smith, Cano. Not a park that's scary, which is why I'm interested in Beede. 60 degrees in San Francisco, the best pitcher's park in baseball. And this time of the year, the pitching in good parks just kind of is at a premium because of the weather everywhere else. So I do have interest in Beatty. I would still put him behind Molly, but just because of the park, I'm interested.
Yeah, he's just one of those guys that are low enough price that I can pair him with some of these top arms, and I'm willing to take a chance on pretty much everybody that ever pitches in San Francisco.
Yep.
So that's where we're at. But Jake DeGrom, 34% ownership on Yahoo, 16 on FanDuel, 24 on DraftKings. DeGrom is the second most owned guy on DraftKings, but we've got a lot of guys in the same area. Ryu at 18, DeGrom 24, Bieber 21, Happ 21, Molly 22. What do you like about Jake DeGrom here other than probably everything?
Yeah, that's about it. The only thing that I don't like is that the Giants don't strike out a ton, but DeGrom obviously can make up for that on his own. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball, really good strikeout pitcher, and the park's great. So really good chance that you get 7+ innings out of DeGrom.
Yeah, a complete game here would not be terribly shocking out of DeGrom. This is the park to do it. 24%. I'm honestly surprised it's not. I'm honestly surprised it's not a little bit higher than that. I expected to see more DeGrom go ownership and less to Ryu. Surprised they're as close as they are. It wouldn't shock me if that starts to separate as we get closer to lock. I love him. He's my second favorite pitcher on the slate behind Verlander.
You said DeGrom is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still loaded. I mean, Verlander, Ryu, Corbin, DeGrom, Bieber at the top. That's pretty healthy. It's a lot of really quality arms. No ownership really going to the Bats on either side, Giants or Mets. Do you care about either team? I'm guessing it would only be the Mets, if anybody.
Yeah, I mean the Mets, I guess, but I'm not looking to stack in San Francisco on a 14-game slate.
Yeah, and I have the Giants dead last in terms of stack rankings today, so don't get the sense that I want to take the Giants against Jake DeGrom in San Francisco. Seems like a little bit of a problem. Anything else in this game, man?
Nope.
14 up, 14 down, and we are done. Hour 22, and we talked for 15 minutes to start about all sorts of stuff. That's a quick show. I'm proud of that one. Lofty and I could not do that. Alrighty, guys. I've gone over it earlier today, but one last lap through what we've got coming up today. Lofty will have the deep dive out early afternoon. Yahoo Specific Strategy Show, 1 p.m. Eastern. Myself, Jake Hari, and the boss man, Alex Baker. Chris Randone and Lofty, deeper dive today at 4:45 Eastern. No Adam, as he will be throwing out the first pitch for the Baltimore Orioles game. Make sure you've got your TV set early. Just catch that if it happens to be aired. And then live before lock, 6 to 7, myself and Jake Hari closing it out and taking you guys up to lock. Shout out to Yahoo for being the presenting sponsor. Check out Emacs Yahoo Specific Strategy article, which is on our site, free to everybody. There may be some fun things you can click on while you open that article. Check out Spotlight Pitchers, Spotlight Hitters, and Stacks. Check out everything that we've got. We've got golf content coming out for the Open Championship right now. Tennis, MMA article coming up later today from myself. All sorts of stuff. It's going to be good. Adam, anything else?
Nope.
Best of luck to everybody. Best of luck to Adam on that first pitch. We'll get out of here. Talk to you guys later.